Tawag doon is waste to energy. Like for example, one of the major problems, like uh, last month we have invited several barangay officials within Taguig. No? Uh, the rationale of inviting them to come with us dito sa TUP is for us to gather information about what do they need and how can we contribute to our community. Ano ba yung mga kailangan nyo? Because we are mandated, no? As an academic institution, aside from instruction, we are also mandated to conduct research and extension. So the point is that as much as possible, we have to do research that are, no, or that will address the need of our community through extension. So we have invited, and it turns out that one of the major problems, okay, in most of the barangay within Taguig is in terms of waste management. Okay? Malaki ang problema nila, no, from them, no, as per them, no. Malaki yung nagiging challenge nila or challenges nila when it comes to waste. Okay? So basically, ang tawag natin doon is municipal waste. Okay? Ang tanong, saan ba natin dinidispose yung mga waste? And yun ba talaga ang magandang paraan ng pagdidispose ng waste? It's another problem because take note, waste affects our groundwater. Actually, yung water pollution natin is not just because nagtatapon tayo sa mga ilog o sa mga bodies of water ng basura. Even yung mga improper disposition ng mga waste sa mga landfills, no? It really affects our groundwater in which, no, it will affect our water bodies. Yun nga, it turns out na ang major problems, one of the major problems that they have, okay, or they are currently encountering is in terms of waste. Okay, kaya isipin mo, yun nga, no, kung if we will be able to establish waste to energy technologies, hindi tayo mauubusan ng source of energy. As long as nagko-consume tayo and as long as nagge-generate tayo ng waste, supposed to be, there should be a sufficient amount of source of energy. But the question is that, how can we convert this waste into energy if that will be the purpose? No? Because obviously, there are other potential means of utilizing waste. Okay? Yun yung ano natin. Meron tayong problema, but unfortunately, ang solution natin is, no, incompatible with the problem. Ginagawa natin, tinatapon natin yung mga basura sa mga landfill. But ito ba yung pinaka-appropriate o pinaka-magandang way to address the problem? Or there are better options in which we can make use of it in a more practical and environmentally friendly solution. Okay? So yun. No? Kaya nga, kung babasahin nyo, Big Show, one of the major priority is about the biomass. Okay? So there are several definitions regarding biomass. Biomass is considered to be a renewable energy resource, derived from the carbonaceous waste of various human and natural activities. As I mentioned, katulad nga nung I discussed about solar energy, wind is a form of solar energy. Biomass is also a form of solar energy because actually biomass is a storage of solar energy in chemical form through plant and animal materials. Okay? So sabi ko nga, no, one of the major requirements of plant is the sunlight. No? Because through the sunlight, meron tayong photosynthesis. No? And this photosynthesis, no, it converts yung carbon dioxide and water vapor, okay, okay, into biomass. Okay? So, kailangan ng mga halaman ng solar energy para magkaroon ng photosynthesis, and these plants will be consumed by other living things. Or if they will not be consumed, obviously they will die, okay, and becomes a biodegradable mass. Okay, in which yung biodegradable mass na yon contains a certain amount of energy. Okay? So, dalawa lang, pwedeng mabulok on its own, at habang nabubulok, pwedeng mag-produce ng energy, or pwede siyang i-consume. Consume directly or indirectly. Pwede mo kainin, or pwedeng gamitin sa ibang paraan or other usage. That will provide or produce a certain amount of energy. Okay, so basically when we talk about photosynthesis, yung chemical reaction is that we're going to convert this carbon dioxide and water vapor into sugar and oxygen. Okay. Ayan, so sunlight plus carbon dioxide plus water vapor will produce a carbohydrate or sugar and oxygen. Okay, so a biomass, in some other definition, is that it is a non-fossilized and biodegradable organic material originating from plants, animals, and microorganisms. Okay, this shall also include products, byproducts, residues, and waste from agriculture, forestry, and related industries, as well as the non-fossilized and biodegradable organic fractions of industrial and municipal waste. So malawak, in short, malawak yung coverage ng biomass, Kasi yung iba ang pananaw nila kapag biomass, yung mga virgin resources like puno, 'di ba? Halaman, but basically yung mga byproducts nung manufacturing can also be considered as biomass. Okay? Yung mga waste, yan, can be considered as biomass. I think na-encounter nyo na ba dati yung dendrothermal project? Narinig nyo na ba yun? Anybody's familiar with dendrothermal project? Wala? Hindi nyo na naabutan yun? Yung nagtanim ng maraming puno ng ipil-ipil. Sino familiar sa ipil-ipil? Yung early 90s, one of the project regarding energy is yung dendrothermal project. In which nagtayo ng maraming species ng plant na madaling lumaki. Kasi itong mga kahoy na to ay gagamitin mong panggatong. Okay? A good example of that is yung ipil-ipil. Kaya kung napapansin nyo, isa sa pinaka-popular na puno sa mga forest ay yung ipil-ipil. Kasi madaling lumaki, madaling dumami. Magtanim ka lang ng isang puno, mabilis ang dumami kasi yung mga bunga niya ay, yung mga buto ay tutubo din. Pero kung napapansin nyo, hindi naging successful yung dendrothermal project. Kaya ngayon wala na. I think hindi nyo na naririnig yung dendrothermal project. Okay? Kasi nga, ang kailangan mo doon ay, unang-una, kailangan mo ng malaking space na pagtataniman ng mga puno. At pag pinutol mo yon, makakalbo naman yung area kung saan ka nagputol. So, kailangan meron ka kaagad pamalit. At pag may pamalit, kailangan mabilis. But ang point nga, yung space na kailangan. And yet, you also have to consider other factors. Kung tataniman mo siya ng mga dendrothermal plants or mga dendrothermal species, in short, hindi mo siya magagamit into other purposes like agricultural purposes, commercial purposes, industrial purposes. So, maraming magiging limit. Another is, I think familiar kayo sa CME project, yung biodiesel project. Familiar po ba kayo doon? Sino ba dito yung na-involved in any of these projects? Biodiesel project. Wala din. CME, sino familiar sa CME?
Sir, sir, if I may comment, yung biodiesel, yung may portion siya na na part is kerosene or gasoline, the other is like galing sa sugarcane, ganon. Yung parang may mix. Meron kasi kaming project sa DOST nung po.
Biodiesel basically yung metal esters, no? Ito yung mga, kasi basically ang tawag sa kanila biofuel. Sa biofuel, meron tayong tinatawag na biodiesel and bioethanol. Kaya kung napapansin nyo, meron tayong tinatawag na ethane, di ba? Yung mga gasoline natin, yung mga Euro 4, Euro 5, meron yung mga ethane, E5, tapos merong tinatawag na D5, D2, D10. Kung aaralin niyo yung biofuel project, no? Isa sa mga isa sa mga tawag natin doon, content nun is that yung mixing of ethanol with commercial fuel. Like for example, pag gasolina, ethanol. Kaya meron tayong mga tinatawag na bioethanol. Tama yun, sir. Yung mga common sources natin sa Philippines ng bioethanol ay sugarcane, mais or corn. Ayun, sila yung mga bioethanol. In terms of biodiesel, ang na-develop sa Philippines ay dalawa, no? Una, yung CME, tinatawag nilang cocoa methyl ester, coconut in short, no? At yung isa is yung Jatropa. I don't know kung sino ditong familiar with the Jatropa. Jatropa is tuba-tubang bakod, no? Yun. So CME, unfortunately, no, itong coconut, itong sugarcane, and itong corn are one of our major agricultural crops that are intended for commercial and food production. So, ngayon, ang issue na naman is food versus energy problem. Kung ikaw, ang nasa gobyerno, alin ang paprioritize mo? Food supply or energy supply? Kasi sugarcane, so puputulin mo sugarcane, extract mo yung juice, instead na gawin mo siyang sugar, gagawin mo siyang bioethanol. Same with corn. No?
Parang alcohol
Coconut.
po yun, sir, di ba? Yung sa sugarcane ba, sir, parang alcohol, gagawin na alcohol?
Yes, ethanol.
Ethanol po.
Opo. Kaya ano siya, ethane. Ang ibig po sabihin ng ethane, yung gasoline is mixed with 10% ethanol. Pag sinabi mong D5, the diesel is 5% biodiesel. Yun po yun. So, yun yung mga biofuels na tinatawag natin. Yan lang, yun nga. Sa Pilipinas, ang major source din natin ng biodiesel ay coconut. Again, ang coconut kasi marami commercial and food applications or uses, no? Talagang it will, as an agricultural country, no, it will greatly affect our income. Kasi itong coconut ay one of our major exports, di ba? Ito yung source of dollar natin kasi locally, ang isa sa mga major export natin ay coconut. Before, no? Yan. Ngayon, ang tanong, gagamitin ba natin siya to locally produce biodiesel or papanatilihin natin siya as an export product? Kaya, ayun. So, in short, no, there are resources available but there are issues. Ang tanong, hopefully we can identify other sources that will not compete with the source of food. Kasi, kapag yan ay source ng food, ang magiging problema mo talaga dyan is food versus energy supply. Kaya yung mga biofuel until now, kung napapansin nyo, ang target ay 20%, no? And yung diesel, ang target ay 10%. Pero until now, I think ang gasoline natin ay 10%. And ang diesel natin ay naglalaro lang sa 2 to 5%. Okay? Yun.
Doc,
So,
may
in short,
tanong po ako. Pwede po magtanong po?
sige po.
Doon sa Coco Diesel po, alin doon yung ginagawang source of fuel? I think yung meat, di ba? Yung meat, i-extract nila yan,
Yes po.
i-press. Opo.
Yes po.
So,
Yung gagawin mo siyang oil.
gagawin
Then,
mo siyang oil, di ba? Opo.
ita-transferify.
So,
Yes.
I think parang depende sa supply. I think ang opinion ko doon, depende sa supply. I think we can both serve the needs because right now marami namang gumagawa ng cooking oil na galing sa coconut po, di ba? Tama?
Yes po.
Yun yung ating source ng food, no? So ang tanong nyo is how do we prioritize, 'di ba? Kung magfo-focus ba tayo
Yes.
dun sa pag-supply ng food as an oil, 'di ba? Or dun
Yes.
sa yung oil imimix sa sa kerosene or sa gasoline. Ang ano ko po dun, parang may gumawa na yata ng ganyan pero hindi ko lang alam kung gaano ka successful eh. Kasi nung nasa Taguig ako, merong gasolinahan doon na biodiesel. Pero hindi ko lang alam kung meron pa ngayon or nag-flourish ba siya o ano po. I think may mga ilan na nagsubok din ng ganyan. Hindi ko lang alam kung gaano ka-successful yung acceptance sa market po. Ayun lang po ang ano ko.
Actually, sir, continuously we are producing biodiesel. Po.
Okay.
Kasi that's a government requirement that we really have to produce biodiesel basically because based on the Biofuel Act, no, a part of our
Okay.
diesel, no, should be mixed with biodiesel. So yung mga commercially na nabibili nating diesel ay may halo na po yan na biodiesel. And yung inahalo po natin na biodiesel are locally manufactured po. Pero yun nga po, until now, very limited pa rin yung production natin ng biodiesel. Basically because we are talking about food and energy. And aside from that, sabi ko kanina, yung coconut kasi is one of our top exports in terms of agricultural crops. Hindi lang local consumptions yung tinitignan natin, but basically, isa kasi siya sa mga
Pang-export.
pang-export natin. In which, kumbaga, dollar income kasi. Nagiging source siya ng dollar income. Kaya ang ano ngayon, with considering na yung mga ibang coconut farms natin are now converted into commercial, residential, and industrial purposes. No? So basically, yung coconut production talaga natin nag-decline. And yet, yung demand natin for food, demand for energy, and demand for dollar income ay tumaas. Kaya sobrang baba pa rin po yung ating biodiesel production. Pero most of the biodiesel na ginagamit natin are locally manufactured. Hindi lang talaga natin ma-implement yung target basically kasi hindi pa enough yung sources. Kaya ang challenge sa atin ngayon is hopefully we can identify other potential sources of biodiesel which will not compete with the food, the food and yung export product natin. Like for example po, they are trying to develop biodiesel through pyrolysis. Hopefully yung iba sa inyo familiar with yung pyrolysis, no? Yung pyrolysis is yung mga waste, yung mga commercial waste ay kino-convert into biodiesel. No, basically ang pinaka-product talaga. For example, yung mga rubber tires, yung mga lumang gulong. Yung mga lumang gulong, pwede po natin yan i-pyrolyze and it will produce crude oil. Oil na yon, biodiesel. Okay, so ganun yung ano. Pero ang problema kasi ngayon, very limited pa yung mga malalaking pyrolyzer sa Pilipinas. Okay. Ngayon, there are waste that can be converted into biodiesel. But unfortunately, babalik na naman ulit tayo sa original na problema. We don't have the technical capability, even the equipment, yung mga malalaking facilities that can cater yung processing of this waste and convert this into biodiesel through pyrolysis. So yung po yung yung po yung problema natin ngayon. Kaya ang challenge nga, sige, mag-explore tayo ng biomass, but hopefully yung mga biomass na ma-identify natin should not compete with other purposes. Kaya nga ang ini-encourage nila ngayon is itong WTE. Kaya talagang siya yung pinaka-safe. Kung titignan natin, yung WTE, siya yung parang pinaka-safe physically kasi waste na yan eh. Wala ka ng ibang may isip na pwedeng paggamitan other than fertilizer itself and yung energy. Pero kung yung mga virgin sources like coconut, sugarcane, yun. Another din, yung bioethanol, kung napapansin nyo, I think familiar kayo sa mga algae. No? Kasi di ba ang claim natin, we are an archipelagic country. Ibig sabihin, you are surrounded by bodies of water, specifically ng ocean. Ano ba meron sa ocean? So sa ocean, maraming algae. And an algae is a potential source of bioethanol. Okay. Actually marami, mga molasses, sweet sorghum. Kung familiar kayo sa sweet sorghum, actually yung sweet sorghum ngayon, nagko-compete naman with rice. I don't know yung tawag nila ngayon, pero yung may panibagong species kasi ngayon na kinakain na parang corn, na parang kanin, na parang palay. Binibenta na ngayon commercially, but actually that is a sweet sorghum, no? Yun, so na-convert na rin siya into a source of food. Ayun, kaya talagang kung titignan mo, basically parang ideally lahat naman contains a certain amount of oil. Pero ang tanong kasi, yung practicality, lahat ng seeds. There was a time before when I was invited to sit as one of the panel members in research proposals. Ang daming research proposal about biofuel. Halos lahat ng buto ay na-present na. But basically kasi, talagang lahat naman halos contains a certain amount of alcohol and oil. Pero ang tanong kasi, yung in terms of yield, napakababa. Napakababa ng yield ng mga ibang tawag natin doon, yung mga ibang sources, potential sources. Kaya hindi natin masyadong in-encourage. No? Kaya talagang kung titignan natin ngayon, kung gusto mo talagang maging safe, waste talaga. No? Yung mga waste ang pag-aralan mong maigi. I think we are not into yung mga virgin sources na i-convert into energy, no? Na biomass. Like for example, sa probinsya, pinanggagatong kahoy. That is good, no? Sa ngayon, okay pa yan. Pero kung gagamitin natin yung kahoy, panggatong sa mga power generating plants, it will not sustain, no? The demand. Kasi kailangan mo magputol ng puno para may panggatong ka. Yun yung dendrothermal project. Yung iba naman, yung rice hull, yung balat, yung ipa ng palay. So may mga power plant, specifically somewhere in north, I think in Nueva Ecija, maramihan sa mga sa Nueva, kasi rice granary sila. Meron silang mga biofuel plant, no, in which ang ginagamit nilang fuel, no, sa mga planta nila ay yung coal na hinahaluan nila ng ipa ng palay, ng rice hull. Pero hindi talaga sila 100% rice hull kasi may interval kasi yung farming eh, 'di ba? I think 2 to 3 months ang isang buong cycle ng farming. Kaya it will not sustain talaga kapag purong rice hull yung gagamitin natin for a plant. Pero since hinahaluan nila yung coal ng rice hull, so they're considered to be a biomass plant. No? Marami dyan somewhere in Nueva Ecija, may mga malalaking power generating plants that talagang ang ginagamit nila ay yung rice hull, being, di ba, yung rice granary ng Pilipinas. Pero it will not sustain pa rin talaga yung need. Talagang kung titignan natin, ang pinaka-practical, waste talaga. Ang tanong, paano natin i-convert itong waste into energy? No? Ayan.
Sir,
Yes,
Dick, may comment lang po.
Sige
Yung
po.
sa sinasabi nyo kasi po na para bang we are kind of nasa dilemma whether we focus on the food, 'di ba, yung food
Yes.
sa requirements ng food natin or sa fuel.
Opo.
Kung yun ang nasa isip ng government po, kasi matagal din naman na yung mga idea na yun. I think masosolusyonan yan kung talagang priority natin na isama yung biodiesel sa regular fuel natin, 'di ba? Para ma-utilize yung ating, 'di ba, yung sa biofuels. I think hindi lang yung pag-support doon sa food, kundi isama na rin yung sa fuel. Ang sinasabi ko pong solution ay yung mga coconut pwede namang itanim yan, eh. Nung naisip nila na puwede palang gamitin na fuel yung mga, 'di ba, yung coconut meat 'no, yung oil dun, I think dapat may program din yung gobyerno to really campaign on the planting. I mean yun, parang yun ang nasa isip ko na if we are really, if we really want have it sustainable, ang iniisip natin, I think mas maganda na meron tayong enough na supply sa pagkain ng mga Pilipino and export, at meron din tayong enough na supply doon sa kukunin natin para sa biodiesel. So ang solusyon doon, dapat nagplano na rin yung ating mga pamahalaan o mga ahensya na ano natin, pag-igihin natin yung sa planting 'no, kasi kung kukulangin tayo ng supply, I think it is one of the solutions na hindi lang tayo umaasa dun sa mga niyog o buko na kusang tumutubo. We really have to systematize na we have to put attention dun sa pag-grow ng ng coconut. Kasi there are countries which are very strong in terms of coconut industry like yung India tsaka yung Bangladesh, 'di ba? Alam natin na or Indonesia. And so doon din sa mga pinagkukunan ng mga energy, there are countries like Brazil and Argentina na sila yung number 1 sa mundo na kumukuha ng energy mula sa corn, no, kung makikita natin sa mga literature. So if they can do it, why we can, kasi marami rin tayong corn dito, no, pero sabi nga pwedeng mag-agawan yung supply para sa food and export, and then doon sa parte na gagawin natin silang fuel. So I think merong solusyon na, 'di ba, pag-igihin natin yung pag-aano ng produksyon sa corn, no, yung pagtatanim, i-identify yung mga land or bigyan ng incentive yung mga farmers to really replant or magtanim ng corn or ng sugarcane para masuportahan. I think ayun lang po yung comment.
Oo, actually, it's a good idea, no? But unfortunately, the government as of now can only intervene on the policies. But regarding the implementation, like for example, majority of the agricultural farms in the Philippines are owned by
Private,
limited people.
private po, ano?
Private, tsaka limited people lang. Like, di ba, sa mga probinsya, if you're going to go to provinces, majority pa rin ay hacienda. Di ba? Ibig sabihin, hacienda in which, di ba, they have the authority
Mga
kung,
pamilya din po, no? Family.
yes. Halimbawa, sa isang malaking lupain, the government can only intervene about policies. Pero kung sabihin mong i-require nila yung mga may-ari ng lupa na itong itanim nyo, at kapag nagtanim kayo, ito yung paggagamitan, that's another thing. Di ba? Kasi they have the options kung ano yung gusto nilang gawin with their product.
Property.
Di ba? Halimbawa, may hacienda ng sugarcane. Diba? Pero we don't know whether that sugarcane is really intended for bioethanol production. In some other provinces, may hacienda ng mga coconut farms. But we don't know whether the coconut that they produce are really intended or they are willing to make use of it to support the government para maging source ng biodiesel. Because they have the control of what they want to, unang-una, kung anong itanim, pangalawa, yung mga yield nila, they have the control kung saan nila gagamitin.
Gagamitin po. Okay.
Oo, 'di ba? Kasi it's a business. Hacienda kasi 'yun eh. Like ako, I grew up in province, no. I came from Sorsogon. In Sorsogon, one of the major crop na we produce is yung coconut talaga. And basically, ako na-experience ko rin na yung lupa namin is part of hacienda, no? Na kami, even kaming mga farmer doon, we don't have a choice kung kanino namin ibebenta yung produkto namin. Talagang sa asyenda, meron na talagang nakatoka kung saan namin kailangan ibenta yung coconut. And they have the control kung saan nila gagamitin yon for commercial purposes or for energy usage or what. No? So, tama din, unang-una, in terms of agriculture kasi talaga, we are being left behind by other countries considering na yung mga countries na to studied in the Philippines no before no yung Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, most of their agriculturists actually studied in the Philippines. That's the claim of the government. Pero sa ngayon sila talagang sobrang nag-improve yung kanilang agricultural practices and technologies no. So kahit limited yung space nila, mataas yung yield nila. Unlike sa atin sa Philippines, malaki yung agricultural farms natin, pero in terms of yield, mababa yung yield natin. And even yung
Sa ano po
cycle
sila yata
ng
nag-aral,
farming,
sir? Sa IRRI?
yes,
International Rice Research Institute sa
in terms of
UPLB.
rice, sa IRRI. In terms of rice, sa IRRI sila nag-aral. Opo. No? Yung Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, sa Philippines sila talaga natuto ng mga farming techniques. No? But yun nga, no? So sila, nagamit nila yon, na-improve nila yung agricultural technologies and practices nila, na-improve nila basically yung yield, na-improve nila yung cycle ng planting, sabihin na shorten nila yung span ng, kasi di ba pag when we talk about farming, pinag-aaralan din dyan yung cycle, no? Bawa, gaano ba kabilis yung isang buong cycle. Yung mga ganon. So, talagang napag-iwanan na tayo kahit malaki yung agricultural spaces natin o areas natin, pero in terms of yield, sobrang mababa yung yield natin. Kaya talagang it's not even enough to supply our food, no? The need for food. No? Talagang we are still importing other goods like agricultural products from other countries considering na malaki. Kasi nga, yun nga, hindi natin masyadong na-improve yung agricultural techniques, agricultural technologies. So parang conventional pa rin tayo hanggang sa ngayon. Kaya medyo in terms of production or agricultural productions, medyo hindi tayo ganon kaganda. Kaya yun nga, kumbaga ano yun eh, anong gusto mo, ilaw o pagkain? Di pagkain muna bago yung ilaw. Tsaka yun nga, marami pa rin sa mga lugar sa probinsya talagang owned by very limited people in which they have the say. Kumbaga sa gobyerno, maglalatag lang kami ng program, maglalatag lang kami ng mga policy, pero they don't have the full authority na to dictate yung mga taong ito na, ikaw dapat ang itatanim mo ay ganito, dapat sa ganito mo siya gagamitin. I think wala pa unless no meron talagang enough support na that can compete kasi syempre these are commercial talagang commercially purpose nun, so to earn profit, unless talagang yung i-offer mo sa kanilang opportunity ay kapareho ng opportunity na makukuha nila kapag binenta nila for commercial and industrial usage. Yun no? Pero ang tanong, meron ba tayong enough or sufficient fund for that? Yun yung tanong kasi doon eh. Sige, bawa ako, meron akong sugarcane farm. Sige, bebenta ko sa iyo yung sugarcane to an amount na kikita din ako. Yun yung challenge doon. Pero meron bang ganun? Or mga ibang incentives lang yung binibigay. Sometimes kasi yung mga incentives are not really encouraging. Kasi pag sinabi mo kasing incentives, sometimes it really takes time. Yung realization, medyo matagal. Syempre, pag negosyante ka, ang gusto mo yung short-term benefit. Hindi naman yung mga, hindi masyadong attractive yung long-term benefits. And sa common na tao, ganun din. For example, sa atin, bakit bibihira ang nagre-risk into research? Kasi yung research, it takes time, yung benefit matagal. Like isang faculty papiliin mo, sample na lang sa amin no, as as faculty in an academic institution. Papili mo ang faculty, magturo, sa sahod ka, okay, versus mag-research na it will take time. Mga 3 years pa kailangan mo para ma-realize mo, para magamit mo sa promotion. Kasi ang cycle sa amin sa promotion ay every 3 years. No? Tawag namin JC3. No? Nagsusubmit kami ng mga outputs or accomplishment. One of that is research. Pero papili mo yung faculty, sige, huwag ka mag-OT, mag-research ka na lang. I think majority of them will still choose. Mag-OT na lang ako kasi yung OT, instant. Yung research, tagal pa yan after 3 years. So gano'n, no? May mga ganong challenges talaga. Sabi ko nga, the government can strategize, but still, it's still up to the people whether they are encouraged, no, na i-support sa strategy or may ibang priorities. Okay. Actually, even sa probinsya namin, insourceable. Ilan na lang din talaga yung nagbe-venture into agriculture. Karamihan ng mga nag-aaral sa probinsya, hindi na agriculture yung naaral. Naaral, mga engineering. Ayun. Kasi nga, ang habol makakuha ng trabaho sa malalaking company. Kasi pag sinabi mo kasi may stereotype kasi tayo na kapag agriculture, pang mahirap ang probinsyano. Ayun. Kasi nga, ang tinutukoy nating agriculture at farmers sa Pilipinas are conventional farmers. Hindi sila yung mga modern farmers that make use of modern techniques, modern facilities, modern technologies. Mga farmer pa rin natin ay yung mga typical na farmer na naabutan na natin. Kaya wala rin masyadong progress. Kaya hindi talaga natin sustain. Kung aasa lang talaga tayo doon sa pagtatanim with the current practice that we have. Sobrang malayo na tayo. Yun yung ano. Okay? But thank you, sir, for your suggestion and recommendations. So going back to the topic, no, so there are two major groups of biomass and there's some classifications. Ito yung tinutukoy ko kanina, no, mga virgin biomass and waste biomass. So when you talk about virgin biomass, ito yung mga terrestrial biomass like forest biomass, yung mga trees, plants, grasses, energy crops, katulad ng coconut, sugarcane, corn, tama yung nabanggit ni Sir, Argentina, Brazil. Ang ginagamit po nila ay mais or corn, no, as a source of bioethanol. No, sila yung, pag inaral mo yung bioethanol, ang makikita mo sikat dyan, Brazil, Argentina, yung mga Latin American countries. Very popular sa kanila yung mga bioethanol production. No? And then we have the aquatic biomass, katulad niya na sinabi ko kanina, yung algae and water plant. There are also several researches about algae. Sa Philippines, basically, sabi nga kasi natin, majority kasi ng territory ng Pilipinas ay karagatan. No? So they said na potentially, malaki yung potential natin. Ay, sorry. Hindi ba gumagalaw yung slides ko? Hindi ba gumagalaw?
Gumagalaw naman to.
Ayan. Kasi, one of your classmates. Ayan.
Sige po.
Ayan.
Sige po.
Algae, no? Yun. Actually, may mga naupuan na ako dati na paper presentation, yung mga research sa MS. Na ang topic is about algae. And I even have one advisory about algae as a source of bioethanol. And then, waste biomass, it includes yung mga municipal waste, biosolid waste, sewage, landfill gases. Katulad sa, I think, di ba, meron ng methanol production sa, methane production sa Payatas. Kung titignan nyo sa Payatas, sa ngayon nag-extract na sila ng methane gas. No, Payatas kasi is one of the popular yung landfill natin sa Pilipinas. And we have several landfills in the Philippines. Agricultural solid waste, livestock and manures, agricultural crop residue. And then mga forestry residues such as bark, leaves, flue residues, and industrial waste such as yun, mga sawdust, oil, so on. Okay, so agricultural mass, example of that, yan. Kung nakikita nyo itong isa, yan yung mga rice hull, yung rice husk, no? Kino-convert nila into pellet. Okay, biomass residues from field agriculture crops like stalks, branches, leaves, and biomass from byproducts of the processing of agricultural products such as mga olive pits, fruits. Sa ibang lugar nga, yung bagas, I think familiar kayo sa bagas. Yung bagas po ay yung pinagpigaan ng sugarcane. No, yung pinagpigaan ng sugarcane, ginagawa siya fuel. No? Bagas ang tawag po nila doon. And then, biomass from animal waste. Ayan, the potential biomass from animal waste includes primarily waste from intensive livestock, operations from poultry farms, pig farms, cattle farms, and slaughterhouses. And the animal waste is rich source of fuel. Yung mga dung cakes prepared with animal waste can be used for cooking requirement, no, sa mga probinsya. Ayan, so katulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, no? Yung animal manure, pwede siyang maging source of biofuel. Okay, pwede siyang maging biogas, pwede mo siyang gamitin sa mga, I think familiar kayo yung cow dung, ginagamit siya as enzyme for mga biodigesters. So biodigester, iba naglalagay tayo ng mga waste, hinahaluan natin ng cow dung or animal dung, no? Kasi it releases a certain enzyme and bacteria that helps the rate of decomposition ng mga waste. Unfortunately, itong mga animal manure din ay may other application. So, pwede siyang gamitin as fertilizer or pwede siyang gawing soil amendments. No? Sabihin, para ma-recover yung natural na minerals ng lupa, no? Ginagamit din kasi yung mga animal dung. Mga animal manure, nilalagay sa mga farms as an organic fertilizer. No? And it restores yung mga minerals ng lupa. No? Kaya sa mga probinsya, sa ibang probinsya, kapag matagal yung cycle ng farming, pinapabulok na lang nila yung mga stocks. No? Pero kapag nagmamadali yung mga farmers, yung mga stocks sinusunog nila. Okay? Para madaling ma-decompose. Yung mga forest biomass, ayan, obviously yung mga panggatong sa probinsya. Okay. And then municipal waste, the municipal waste consists of solid waste such as human excreta, garbage, city waste, and commercial waste. Okay, it also includes yung mga liquid form, mga domestic sewage, and effluent from community institutional activities. Sabi ko nga katulad nung sa Payatas. No? There are a number of ways this waste can be recycled and resources covered in terms of fuel, gas manure, and liquid fuel, etc. Mga energy plantation, katulad nga na sinabi ko dati, yung mga ipil-ipil, no? Pwede siyang gawing energy plantation or energy crops na tinatawag. Yung dendrothermal project. And yung mga marine biomass, yung mga water hyacinth, mga algae, and so on. Sa mga taga-Taguig, very familiar tayo sa water hyacinth, diba? Kasi during the time of Undoy, okay, diba, nagkaroon ng binaha, no? Binaha yung Metro City or Metro Manila. And one of the causes na nakita nila kasi yung mga tubig ay hindi nakakapunta sa main bodies of water, no, sa dagat, no? Kasi natatrap ng mga water hyacinth or mga water lily. No? Kaya after the Undoy, kung natatandaan nyo, there were several studies conducted, no, to eliminate yung water hyacinth. No? Eliminate with commercial impact. Kaya nag-develop yung DOST na maraming paraan. Ginawa siyang crop, ginawa siyang energy crop, ginawa siyang handicraft, no? So maraming na-establish na application or usage ng water lily or water hyacinth. So because the purpose is to eliminate yung mga water lilies. But unfortunately, kaya ako, pag may mga student na nagpo-propose about water hyacinth, talagang nire-reject ko. Kasi hindi na-meet yung original purpose. Bakit? Ang purpose is aralin natin kung ano pwedeng magiging gamit ng water lily para ma-eliminate natin yung water lily. Pero ang nangyari, nung natutunan ng mga tao na ito pala ay pwedeng pagkakitaan, instead na maubos yung water lily, lalong dumami. Kasi kung ikaw nga naman, kung source of income mo siya, definitely ayaw mo siyang maubos. So anong nangyari, instead na maubos yung mga water lily, lalong dumami because it became a source of income. So yung mga water lily, ginagawa po siyang briquette. Sa pamilya naman po siguro tayo sa briquette, no? Yung compressed, highly compressed coal or charcoal. Noong briquette, ginawang handicraft, ayun. So instead na maubos yung mga water lily, nagtanim lalo sila ng water lily para mas malaki yung kanilang maging income. So nawala yung ultimate purpose nung project. No? Yung purpose na matanggal yung mga water lily along C6 sa mga pamilya, sa mga taga-Taguig, no? Di ba, kung napapansin nyo, sa C6 ay maraming water lily. No? Isa yan sa mga nakita nila before na naging cause kung bakit binaha during undoy. Kasi hindi makalabas yung tubig. Okay? Na naharangan ng mga water lily. Ayun. So hanggang sa ngayon ay marami pa ring water lily kasi nga it became a source of income nung mga residents residing on that particular area. Ayan. Kaya mga student, pag nagpo-propose, gagawa? Ako, huwag na. Kasi I will also add to the problem. We are here to solve the problem. But instead of solving the problem, we became part of the problem. Kaya, pag mga study about water hyacinth, ayoko niyan. Kasi I was very disappointed of the outcomes nung naging project before about water hyacinth. Talagang nakaka-disappoint kasi nawala yung original purpose. Okay? Then, okay. Gumagalaw po ba yung slides natin? Gumagalaw po ba? Yung nag-change na ba? Yung slides?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay. So another way to classify biomass is itong tinatawag nating atomic ratio. Ano ba ang purpose nitong atomic ratio? Knowing the atomic ratio of a certain biomass, we will be able to identify the most appropriate way to convert this into energy. Kailangan alamin natin yung atomic ratio. So, knowing the atomic ratio, malalaman natin kung ano yung pinakatamang method of converting this feedstock into energy. Okay? So, kung napapansin nyo, you have there the atomic ratio ng hydrogen versus carbon ratio as well as oxygen and carbon ratio. Okay? Hydrogen and carbon ratio and oxygen to carbon ratio. Bakit carbon? We all know, no? If we're talking about coal, no, one of the major composition of coal is carbon, and that is also one of the major contributors sa heating value of a certain feedstock. Diba? Kung natatandaan nyo pa yung tinatawag nating Dulong's equation or Dulong's formula, okay, when we're going to determine the heating value of the fuel, the major contributor of the heating value of the fuel is the carbon content. And unfortunately, no, yung oxygen reduces the heating value. Yung hydrogen, no, it adds to the heating value of the fuel. Unfortunately, ang hydrogen is normally, no, accompanied by oxygen. No? And ang oxygen natin, it reduces the heating value of the feedstock. Kaya tinitignan natin yung hydrogen versus carbon ratio as well as oxygen and carbon ratio. Okay, so tignan natin, no, kung napapansin nyo, yung may pinakabababa, no, na hydrogen and carbon ratio as well as oxygen and carbon ratio ay yung anthracite. So alam naman natin, no, ang anthracite is the gold standard of coal. Ibig sabihin, siya yung pinakamagandang klase ng coal. Kaya kung napapansin mo, mababa yung hydrogen carbon ratio as well as oxygen carbon ratio. Okay, followed by the rest of types of coal. Take note, anthracite is one of the types of coal. Pero maliban dyan, di ba, meron tayong they call it anthracite. Ano pa ba yung mga ibang type ng coal natin? Bituminous, di ba? Okay, mga bituminous type of coal, peat, so on, no? Ayan. And then you have there the lignite, no, the peat. Okay. Ito yung coal kasi, yung anthracite, bituminous, the lignite, the peat, and the biomass. Kung napapansin mo sa graph, no, it only shows that majority of the biomass that we have ay merong mataas na hydrogen carbon ratio and oxygen carbon ratio. So in short, no, mas mababa yung kanilang heating value in comparison with fossilized fuel. So take note, itong peat, lignite, coal, and anthracite, these are fossilized fuel. And biomass are non-fossilized fuel. Pero kung titignan natin dyan, doon sa biomass, napakalaki ng cover niya, at nakikita natin doon yung mga cellulosic type, no? Yung mga cellulosic type of biomasses, sila yung may pinakamataas, no, na hydrogen carbon ratio and oxygen carbon ratio. In short, sila yung may pinakamababang heating value. And knowing that, okay, malalaman natin ngayon dito sa ternary diagram, okay, kung ano yung pinaka-appropriate process or method of converting this into energy. Okay, pag alam natin yung carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen ratio, makikita natin dito sa ternary diagram kung ano yung pinaka magandang process. Like for example, if a certain feedstock, no, okay, contains high amount of carbon, okay, sabihin they are coal, mga solid fuel ang tawag natin sa kanila. Okay? Kung mataas yung oxygen content, ano ba yung pinakamagagandang process? Nakalagay diyan, ang magandang process is oxygen process. Okay, pag mataas yung oxygen yung oxygen content, no? Medyo mababa yung carbon content at mababa yung hydrogen content, ibig sabihin, pwede yan through oxygen process. Kapag mababa yung carbon content, pero mataas yung hydrogen and oxygen content, pwede nating padaanin sa steam process. Kapag mababa yung carbon content at mababa yung oxygen content, while mataas yung hydrogen content, pwede yan through hydrogen process. Okay. Kapag mababa yung oxygen content, pero mataas yung carbon and hydrogen content, pwede nating padaanin yan ng fast pyrolysis process. Kapag mababa yung oxygen content and hydrogen content pero mataas yung carbon content, pwede nating padaanin ng pyrolysis process. So knowing those composition, we will be able to identify kung ano ba yung most appropriate process on how can we convert this biomass into, no, into energy. Like for example, kung napapansin nyo dyan, yung mga fast pyrolysis and hydrolysis process or hydrogen process, they are intended to produce yung mga methane and butane. Okay? So, ito ngayon, no? Kaya tinitignan natin, kung napapansin nyo, katulad din doon, kung naalala nyo sa coal analysis natin, meron tayong tinatawag na CHONSAM. Okay, CHONSAM. CHONSAM stands for carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, ash, and moisture. So this table shows an example. No? Ito yung mga kulang sa atin. Okay? Ito yung, in short, no? We have several potential biomass feedstock. Pero wala tayo ng mga ganitong data. Okay? Kaya ako pinapakita to. This is an example of data, no, showing the different feedstock and their composition. Ayan yung mga studies, yung sources ng studies. In short, so sa Pilipinas, for example, ano ba yung mga na-identify natin na potential biomass feedstock? Do we have also this kind of data? Okay, for example, yung rice hull. Ginagamit natin siya as a biomass feedstock. But do we have this data? So kung meron, edi good. Pero rice hull lang ba ang pwede natin gawan? So in short, there might be some other potential biomass feedstock and we just have to establish this data. Sana may mga study tayo magawa na ma-identify pa natin yung mga magagandang feedstock at ibigay natin yung mga ganitong klaseng data. That will be very helpful para ma-convert natin siya into energy. Okay? And in terms of estimation of the heating value, so yeah, as I mentioned a while ago, no, kung napapansin nyo, napakataas ng contribution ng carbon content, hydrogen content, sulfur content. Okay? Ang nakakababa sa heating value are yan, oxygen. Okay, binababaan niya ng 103.4 kilojoules per kilogram yung heating value, nitrogen, and ash. Okay, so basically, no, that is an assumption. No? Then alam na natin yan, no, yung stoichiometric calculation for complete combustion. You have the mass of dry air, so we will be able to determine the mass of the dry air using this formula and the actual mass of air. So we have to determine this because sabi nga natin, meron tayong tinatawag na air and fuel ratio. So para magkaroon ka ng sufficient combustion or tinatawag natin complete combustion, you must be able to identify yung tinatawag natin theoretical air-fuel ratio and the actual air-fuel ratio. Okay, as well as the flue gas production. Yan yung mga mathematical expressions that we can make use, no, for us to assess, no, a certain type of biomass feedstock. Okay, and then when we talk about biomass as a primary fuel sources, no, we can classify this into three. No? We have the liquid fuel, the gaseous fuel, and the solid fuel. Okay, katulad niyan sabi ko kanina, pag mga liquid fuel, these are in the form of ethanol, biodiesel, methanol, vegetable oil, and pyrolysis oil. And in terms of gaseous fuel, yung mga biogas, producer gas, synthetic gas, and other substitute of natural gas, and solid fuels such as charcoal, torrefied biomass, biocoke, and biochar. Okay, so ito na yung tinatawag nating conversion process. Okay, in terms of conversion, basically we have two biomass conversion process. The first one is the biochemical route, and the second one is the thermochemical route. So when we talk about biochemical route, we're talking about yung without the use of heat. How can we convert biomass into energy without using heat? Kasi diba, for example, kung napapansin nyo, yung mga kahoy sinusunog, ginagawang uling. So that is an example of thermochemical route. O yung pyrolysis, torrefaction, those are thermochemical route. But when we talk about biochemical route, we are just using enzymes, no? Magamit tayo ng mga enzymes or bacteria, okay, to convert a certain biomass feedstock into energy. Like for example, yung digestion. Okay, so pag digestion, basically, mga bacteria ang pinag-uusapan natin dito. So it can be either with the presence of oxygen or without the presence of oxygen. Yung mga anaerobic and aerobic. Okay, yung mga enzymes naman, normally, ang process naman na tinatawag natin doon are fermentation process na gumagamit tayo ng mga enzymes that break down the glucose into sugar and into alcohol. So binibreak natin, yung gumagamit tayo ng mga enzyme para i-break down natin yung glucose o yung sugar into alcohol. Ito yung mga fermentation process, katulad ng bioethanol production. Okay? Then for thermochemical, sabi ko nga, yan yung gumagamit ng heat. No? Like for example, yung pyrolysis, gasification process, liquefaction process, combustion process. In terms of gasification, meron tayong supercritical water, air or oxygen process, and steam. Actually, wala pa dito yung torrefaction process. So let's start with biochemical conversion. So yung biochemical conversion uses yung biomass are broken down into smaller molecules by bacteria or enzymes. This is a much slower than thermochemical conversion process but does not require much external energy. The three principal routes for biochemical conversions are digestion, fermentation, and enzymatic hydrolysis. But actually, fermentation and enzymatic hydrolysis are almost similar. No? And in terms of digestion, we have the anaerobic and aerobic digestion. So let's start with anaerobic digestion. So an anaerobic digestion is a natural process and is the microbiological conversion of organic matter to methane in the absence of oxygen. Okay, so the decomposition is caused by natural bacterial action in various stages. The main products of anaerobic digestions are methane and carbon dioxide in addition to the solid residue. So bacteria take oxygen from the biomass itself instead of from ambient air. Okay, the leachate, no, yung leachate, ito yung parang pinaka-residue, yung liquid residue, na it is normally composed of the bacteria, no? And yung bacteria na yon, binabalik natin sa landfill for the digestion. Okay, so additional liquids may be added to the leachate to help biodegradation of the waste, no? In the absence of oxygen, the waste is broken down into methane, carbon dioxide, and the digestate or yung tinatawag nating solid residue. So take note, yung liquid residue, tinatawag natin siyang leachate, no? At yung solid residues, tinatawag natin siyang digestate. Yung mga bacteria na known for anaerobic digestions are ito, no? We call it methanogenesis bacteria. So there are different types of methanogenesis bacteria. It depends on the temperature, kung anong temperature yung ginagamit nyo for the digestion. And the temperature na ginagamit for digestion or anaerobic digestion, it really depends on the type of feedstock na gagamitin. Now, in the case of anaerobic digestion at a temperature of 45 to 65 degrees Celsius, okay, ang magagandang bacteria doon ay yung mga tinatawag nating thermophiles. Okay, at 20 to 45 degrees Celsius, yun yung mga mesophiles. And from 0 to 20 degrees Celsius, ito yung mga psychophiles or psychophylitic type of bacteria. So sa iba, mababasa niyo yung mga thermophylitic, mesophylitic, and psychophylitic, no, bacteria. So basically, yung process is yung yung glucose in a form of waste plus bacteria will be broken down into 3 moles of carbon dioxide plus 3 moles of methane plus the solid residue or the digestate. So basically, ganun lang naman yung process, no? So you have the digester, okay, assuming yung landfill can be considered as a digester, which maglalagay kayo ng mga waste, no? And then without the presence of oxygen, so may mga bacteria dyan, i-break down niya yung sugar into fuel, no? Specifically yung methane. Ayan, no? So yung anaerobic digestion, ito yung processes, no? Yung pathway. First is the hydrolysis. Okay, so sa hydrolysis, di ba, actually, sa biodigester, meron kasi talaga tayo tinatawag na appropriate ratio. No? Ratio ng waste, ng enzyme or yung animal manure and water. So actually, naglalagay talaga tayo ng water. Minomonitor natin yan yung acidity or yung tinatawag nating pH. No? Kailangan monitor natin yung pH kasi it will affect yung growth ng bacteria na kailangan natin for the digestion. So kailangan minomonitor yung pH, minomonitor yung temperature because it will affect yung bacteria. And again, yung bacteria na kailangan natin for the digestion, it will basically depend on the type of the feedstock as well as the type of enzymes or manure na gagamitin natin. Okay? So yan, so you have those hydrolysis, hinahaluan natin siya ng water and yung manure. Okay? And through this, no, yung waste in the forms of carbohydrates, proteins and lipids, no, will be converted into the next stage yung tinatawag nating acidogenesis. No? So in the acidogenesis, okay, napupunta dito yung mga soluble organic molecules and broken down into sugar, amino acid, and fatty acid. Okay? Some of this, no, ay dumediretso doon sa methanogenesis, pero majority dumadaan doon sa tinatawag nating acetogenesis. In the acetogenesis, these sugar, amino acids, and fatty acids are converted into alcohol. Basically, the sugar are converted into alcohol. O yung tinatawag nating carbonic acids. Okay? And volatile fatty acids. So that is in the acetogenesis process. And then in the methanogenesis process, no, yung soluble organic molecules as well as the alcohol are converted into basic components such as yan, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, nitric acids, and hydrogen sulfides. Okay? And acetic acid, in which, no, ang pinaka-byproduct natin dyan ideally are the digestate, the methane, and the carbon dioxide. Okay, so basically, when we talk about anaerobic process, it will undergo this process, no? Hydrolysis, acidogenesis, acetogenesis, and methanogenesis. Ang importante lang na matutunan natin is, una, yung characteristic ng feedstock. Second, characteristic ng manure o yung enzyme na gagamitin natin. Okay? With those characteristic and properties, we will be able to identify or to determine ano ba yung appropriate na ratio. Ratio between the waste and manure, okay, and as well as the water content na kailangan natin. So we can control the pH, we can also control the temperature. Okay? Kasi makaka-apekto yun sa rate of digestion because of yung rate of multiplication ng bacteria. Okay, so hydrolysis break down the lactose or polysaccharide into galactose and glucose monosaccharides. That is with the use of the animal manure. And the acidogenesis is the bacteria. Okay, the bacteria degrade the product of hydrolysis into volatile fatty acids. No, some hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and acetic acid are also produced which will skip the acetogenesis. So, katulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, no? Ang supposed to be, ang kasunod na process nito is acetogenesis, but there are instances na after the acetogenesis, dediretso na sa ng methanogenesis. So sa acetogenesis, yung acetogenic bacteria consumes the product from the previous process and produce acetic acid. No? And in the methanogenesis, no, so from the word methanol, so doon na napoproduce yung methane. May bacteria called methanogens. Okay, the biological process is here breakdown of the acetic acid. In terms of aerobic digestion, so obviously aerobic digestion, is an exact opposite of the anaerobic digestion. So this kind of digestion requires the presence of oxygen. No? So in short, it uses a different type of bacteria or microorganism in which the access of oxygen from the air, it requires access of oxygen from the air, producing carbon dioxide, heat, and solid digestate. The leachate is removed from the bottom layer of the landfill and pumped back into the landfill where it flows over the waste or repeatedly. So air is added to the landfill, enables microorganisms to work faster to degrade the waste into compost, carbon dioxide, and water. So since it does not produce methane, so take note, ang pinoproduce niya, carbon dioxide, heat, and solid digestate. Aerobic digestion is most widely used where there is no additional need of landfill gas. Okay, the next process naman is the fermentation process. So in the fermentation process, part of the biomass is converted into sugars using acid or enzymes. Okay. The sugar is then converted into ethanol or other chemicals with the help of yeast. Basically, yung ginagamit nating enzymes is the yeast. And when we talk about fermentation process, ang ginagamit natin mostly dito ay yung mga lignitic type of waste. Okay? Or mga less lignitic type of waste. Parang ang ginagamit natin dito yung mga cellulosic type. Cellulosic type of feedstock, not necessarily waste, but rather cellulosic type of feedstock. So basically, ganito yung process. Okay, you have a feedstock such as example corn. Okay, so yung corn nahaluan natin ng yeast. So yung sugar will be converted into liquid beer. Right? Pag sinabi natin liquid beer, actually that is fermented sugar. And then yung liquid beer, mag-undergo ng distillation. Okay? And in that distillation, so you have two products. Yung first product is the ethanol, which is the useful product. And the byproduct is yung residues that can also be used as animal feed. Okay, another way to represent is using the cellulosic feedstock. So yung cellulosic feedstock, you're going to add acid and water. Kanina ang ina-add natin ay yeast, Pero this yeast and water. Pero dito acid and water. So the acid will break down the biomass into base sugar and fiber. Okay, so yung sugar, okay, is intended to produce yung fuel. Ayan, so yung mga cellulose and the lignin fibers ay mag-undergo ulit ng another process. Pero yung mga enzyme, yung hemicellulosic syrup from the previous process, hahaluan lang siya ng enzyme and water to produce the liquid beer which can be used again to produce ethanol. Okay, parang ang pinapakita lang naman dito yung two stages. Pag mga cellulosic feedstock, pwede mo siyang padaanin ng dalawang stage of processes. Yung residue ng first process, pwede mo siyang maging input doon sa second stage of processing. Okay, the next one is the enzymatic or acid hydrolysis. Okay, hydrolysis is a pre-treatment is using acid, enzymatic, or hydrothermal processes for a lignocellulosic feedstock. So kanina, cellulosic, dito naman ay applicable for mga lignocellulosic o lignocellulosic feedstock. To break down the cellulose and hemicellulose into simple sugars needed by the yeast and bacteria for the fermentation process. So in short, yung hydrolysis basically is a part of the fermentation process. Pwede siyang kapag highly lignocellulosic, yung feedstock natin, papadaanin muna natin ng acid hydrolysis or enzymatic bago natin padaanin ng fermentation process. Like for example dito, so you have an input of cellulose feedstock. So you have there the first stage of hydrolysis in which maglalagay kayo ng sulfuric acid. Okay, so yung sa first stage, hahatiin niya yan into solid and yung liquid na part mag-undergo ng neutralization using carbon hydroxide. So we have to neutralize kasi 'di ba, naglagay tayo ng acid. Okay? So once na broken down na yung cellulose feedstock natin into liquid and solid, no? Yung liquid kailangan nating i-neutralize using calcium hydroxide bago siya mag-undergo ng fermentation. Okay, you have there the carbon 5 fermentation process. And itong carbon 5 fermentation process, basically siya yung magpo-produce ng high amount of ethanol. At kung napapansin nyo, yung solid from the first stage hydrolysis, pwede siyang mag-undergo ng second stage of hydrolysis using same acid, which is a sulfuric acid, and then the liquid part, no, mag-undergo ulit ng neutralization process using calcium hydroxide to produce, this time naman is carbon, 6 moles of carbon that will also produce an ethanol. Okay, kaya tawag nila dyan carbon C6 and carbon 5 methanol or ethanol. Okay, so basically yun yung hydrolysis. So, ayan. Kung tatanong nyo ako kung anong magandang klaseng feedstock at ano mas magandang output, mas magandang output ng carbon of 5 sugar kaysa carbon of 6 sugar in terms of ethanol production. So basically yun lang, no? Naglalagay tayo ng acid like sulfuric acid and then in-neutralize din natin yung acid. Okay? Bago siya mag-undergo ng fermentation process. Basically, because yung characteristic o yung behavior ng yeast will be affected by the acidity of the solution or mixture. Okay? So yun, no? So basically yun nga, no? Aerobic digestion, the fermentation process, or digestion, using aerobic or anaerobic, and fermentation. So yung fermentation, pwede fermentation itself or fermentation na pre-processing using hydrolysis or enzymatic process. So yun yung mga biochemical conversion process. In terms of, basta tatanda lang naman, pag sinabi natin biochemical, with the presence of bacteria or enzyme. Kapag with bacteria, ang tawag natin doon digestion. So pag digestion, pwedeng aerobic or anaerobic. Pag anaerobic, without the presence of oxygen. Kapag aerobic, with the presence of oxygen. Ano nagkakaiba? Nagkakaiba, una, sa types ng bacteria, okay, na gagamitin for the digestion, as well as on the type of target yield. Kung ang target yield mo ay methane, ay di mag-anaerobic ka. However, if yung target output mo is heat, no, you can make use of the aerobic process. Next is yung thermochemical conversion. Okay, so basically, this is with the use of heat from the word thermo, means energy or heat. No? So yung mga processes, yan, either by combustion or ginagatong, sinusunog, ginagawang uling, or carbonization or torrefaction. This is almost similar to the combustion, however, at a controlled environment. And then pyrolysis, again, this is almost similar to torrefaction, but of higher temperature and higher pressure. Gasification and liquefaction process. Combustion, so combustion is an exothermic reaction between oxygen and hydrocarbon. Okay, so biomass is oxidized into two major stable compounds, which is the hydrogen or the water vapor and carbon dioxide. Combustion. So basically ito lang, yung pinanggagatong lang talaga natin, no? At pag sinusunog natin siya, basically ang pinaka byproduct natin is water vapor and carbon dioxide. But in the case of torrefaction is a thermochemical process in an inert or limited oxygen environment, where biomass is slowly heated to within a specified temperature range and retained there for a stipulated time such that it results in near complete degradation of hemicellulose content while maximizing mass and energy yield. So, ang purpose lang naman ng torrefaction natin ay para bawasan yung hemicellulose para mas maging compact. No? Parang kung yung isang raw na feedstock, papadaanan mo siya ng torrefaction para matanggal mo yung mga cellulosic na part at mas maging compact ngayon yung fuel. So, ito ngayon yung mga parang mga ginagawang pellet, no? Yung mga biomass pellet, no? Dumadaan yun ng torrefaction. So, it is at lower temperature and in controlled condition para lang mabawasan, not necessarily to eliminate but no, just to reduce, no? Yung mga hemicellulose content para mas maging compact siya. So, torrefaction is being considered for effective utilization of biomass as clean and convenient solid fuel. The biomass is slowly heated to 200 to 300 degrees Celsius without or little contact with oxygen. So, this alters the chemical structure of biomass hydrocarbon to increase its carbon content while reducing its oxygen. It also increases the density or energy density of the biomass and makes the biomass hygroscopic. Okay, so there, no? So torrefaction temperature range suggested by different researchers. So yeah, 220 to 300, 225 to 300, 230 to 300, 200 to 300. Ang questionable lang dito with this range of temperature. Okay, ang questionable is anong klaseng feedstock yung ginamit nila. Now, another question is, will this temperature range be applicable with the kind of feedstock that we have sa Pilipinas? Another question is that, what kind of biomass feedstock are suitable for torrefaction? Yung mga available biomass feedstock na meron tayo sa Pilipinas. Meron bang mga study na gano'n? Okay? May mga study ba? Ito yung mga potential feedstock for torrefaction. The next question is, ano yung appropriate na temperature range para makabuo tayo ng torrefied pellet, no, na pwede natin gamitin as fuel. So take note, itong mga pellet, pwedeng grass, pwedeng shrubs, no? Pwedeng maliliit na puno or plants, no? Not necessarily yung mga malalaking puno. Okay? Ang purpose lang naman is bawasan yung oxygen content and maging mas compact siya para mataas yung energy density. So yeah, no? It's a good, ang point ko lang naman, it's a good, like for example, yung mga dried leaves ng mga puno. Kung nakapunta na kayo dito sa amin sa TUP Taguig, marami kaming puno dito sa TUP Taguig. At one of the major problems that we have is yung mga dried leaves, no? Maraming napupunong, maraming na, lalo na ngayong season, taglagas. Ay, ang tanong, pwede bang i-convert ito into torrefied pellet? Kung i-convert natin into torrefied pellet, anong temperature kaya ang pinaka-appropriate para maging torrefied pellet siya? It's a good topic, no? Kasi kung problema mo yan, ang ginagawa lang naman namin sa mga dahon ng puno ay sinusunog namin eh. Diba? Baka merong commercial value to. Baka pwede magawa ng study at ma-establish natin na itong problem, yung current problem namin can be converted into a useful output. No? So yun naman ang trabaho natin mga engineers, no? To solve problems. Okay, then, ayan. Nandito na yung iba't ibang klase ng thermochemical processes and no, yung mga temperature range. Ayan, ito yung mga magandang ma-establish natin. No? Ayan, for example, dito, 20 to 110 degrees Celsius. The wood is preheated and it approaches 100 degrees Celsius. So the moisture starts evaporating. So anong heating rate? Low to fast. Drying, okay, ang process is drying, ang product is bone dry product. At 110 to 200, no, further preheating of this bone dry wood, no, removes the traces of moisture and slight decomposition starts. Ang heating rate, low to fast, no. Process is post drying or preheating. And then 200 to 270, wood decomposes releasing volatile acetic acid, methanol, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide. Heating rate, low. Ang process is called torrefaction. And the product is mildly torrefied wood. And then at 270 to 300, exothermic decomposition starts, releasing condensable and non-condensable vapors. The process is torrefaction, the heating rate is low, and the product is severely torrefied wood. And then 300 to 400, wood structure continues to break down, tar releases starts to predominate. Heating rate, low to high. Pag low, ang tawag natin ay low temp carbonization, and the product is low fixed carbon charcoal, uling in short. Pag high heating rate, we call it pyrolysis, and the product is liquid. Okay, 400 to 500, residual tar from coal is released. Heating rate, low to high. Pag low, we call it carbonization, in which ang makukuha natin is high fixed carbon charcoal. While in the pyrolysis, the product is the liquid. And above 500, we call it carbonization. Okay? So, ang process is high temp carbonization or pyrolysis. So, pag high temp carbonization, ang product is tar-free charcoal or kapag pyrolysis, liquid or higher gas yield. Okay? So, basically ganyan, yung torrefaction process natin. So, you have a biomass or other fuel, haluan natin ng biomass input. Katulad ng mga rice hull. Okay? Then, mag-undergo ng torrefaction process. Yung pinaka-output natin in a torrefaction is yung pelletized fuel or briquette na tinatawag natin. So normally kasi pag briquette, combustion process. Or we call it the combustion process. Okay, so basically ito yung energy balance in a torrefaction process. Carbonization. Okay, so this is at higher temperature. Basically, ang output ng carbonization is uling or charcoal, which can be used as charcoal for cooking or can be used to produce activated charcoal. Okay, yung activated charcoal, ginagamit natin siya as absorption material for chemical and environmental industries and used to absorb toxins. Kaya di ba sa water treatment process natin, ginagamitan natin ng activated charcoal to remove toxins and yung amoy, yung amoy ng tubig. Kaya di ba sa atin, sa mga ref natin, minsan pag masyadong maamoy yung ref natin, naglalagay tayo ng mga uling or charcoal. Basically because yung charcoal is capable of absorbing toxins in which nakakatanggal siya ng pangit na amoy. Yung pyrolysis, so ang difference between pyrolysis and carbonization, sa carbonization, ang napoproduce natin ay solid fuel. Like example ito, maliban sa charcoal, tsaka activated charcoal, pwede rin siya, ito mga biocoke or yung mga biochar. So yung mga biocoke, normally ginagamit natin siya sa mga heat treatment process. Sa mga furnace. Yung mga biochar naman, biocharcoal lang tawag natin. Sa pyrolysis naman, normally ang product natin ay liquid. It takes place in the total absence of oxygen, except in cases where partial combustion is allowed to provide thermal energy needed for this 100 to 400 degrees Celsius, in which the large hydrocarbon molecule of biomass are broken down into small molecules. So maraming klase po ng pyrolysis. Meron tayong fast pyrolysis. Okay, meron tayong slow pyrolysis. Okay. And we have the flash pyrolysis. Ang difference is yung rate of heating as well as the temperature. So since they have different rate of heating and temperature, and basically it depends on the type of the feedstock, okay, it is expected that they have different qualities of fuel. No? Normally, uulitin ko lang, ang napoproduce natin dito ay biodiesel. No? Sa pyrolysis process, ang napoproduce natin ay biodiesel. So ito yung pinaka practical, no? Not necessarily practical. One of the applicable technologies na pwede natin gamitin in terms of solid waste. Kasi take note, sa Pilipinas, hindi tayo inaalaw ng incineration. Tama po ba? Wala tayong incineration sa Pilipinas. Meron tayong batas na nagbabawal ng incineration. Kaya ang ginagawa natin sa mga solid waste natin ay nilalagay po natin sa landfill. Because according to them, yung incineration still releases toxic gases. Kaya hindi meron tayong batas against incineration. However, in some other countries, yung incineration, ginagamit nila yung technology to convert waste into energy. Kaya makikita mo minsan, pag merong waste to energy, isa sa mga makikita nyo is incineration process. But in the Philippines, we do not promote incineration. Okay, and then we have the gasification. This is almost similar to pyrolysis, but basically, ang purpose is to produce gaseous fuel. Almost same lang. And then liquefaction, okay, so after the gasification process actually, okay, after mo siyang i-convert into gas, pwede mo siyang i-convert into liquid fuel. Okay, so we call it liquefaction process. Okay, so this are example. Ito nga yung sabi ko kanina, no? Example of biomass in the Philippines. The Isabela Biomass Energy Corporation actually uses may video yan, no? Gumagamit sila ng rice hull. No? Hinahaluan nila ng rice hull yung mga coal. Okay, so this is nasa Philippines, pero pag pinanood nyo yung video, majority of the people who runs the facility, especially yung mga technical manpower, are foreign. I think this one is India. India yung technology. So yung technology na ginagamit dito are developed in India. And then this one is sa San Jose One Power Corporation. Okay, gumagamit din ng rice husk. Okay. This one is in Nueva Ecija. And then this one is Central Azucarera Don Pedro in Batangas. So gumagamit naman dito ng bagas o yung pinagpigaan ng sugarcane. Okay, so that's all about biomass. Do you have any questions or clarifications regarding our discussion? We still have 10 more minutes if you have, or no, 6 more minutes if you have questions or clarifications. Regarding biomass, may tanong po ba? Mga sirs?
Sir, wala. Mabulok.
So, wala. So, if none, okay, so that's it for today. And, ito nga pala, no? By next week, no, bibigyan ko kayo ng within this week, i-upload ko na yung activities. Yes. So if there are no more questions or clarifications, yes po.
Doc, yung mga lecture po ba natin na naka-upload ba yan? Naka-share po ba yan?
I-upload ko na lang po.
Kasi may mga ilang komisa na late or may mga emergency po para mabalikan kung pwede lang.
Sige po. Sige,
salamat po. Salamat po. Thank you po, Doc, sa lecture.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so that's it for today and see you by next week. Happy weekend.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc. Happy weekend po.
Thank you po.
Safe everyone. Hindi naman mapasok sa sabihin. Hanggang may tayo dyan. Parang hindi tayo pasok sa linaw.
Baka malamang pasok yun.